Alright, so no introduction today. You know, I'm a random pop culture news freak, aka MannyTendoWolverine. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, BShootBrighteon, aka Rumble or Odyssey, Minds. All the good stuff still. Anyways, wonder why I'm in this fancy ass suit. I will tell you in a sec because I've been wanting to watch this thing for 4 or 5 days. LilaofWind. I forgot to mention the other day when I did my reaction to Sun Wukong. Dumbass freaking idiot me. I don't know why I forgot to do that, but anyways, my friends. Yeah, as far as everything else goes, yeah, I forgot to totally mention that because I was so much into that hype. But 3, 2, 1, let's get in. VtuberNightLive2Fonts, if anyone knows, she's like a small-time VTuber, but she's a lot more bigger on Twitch than she is on YouTube. Almost 26,000 subs on YouTube, though, so she's almost at 30K, so she's doing podcasts now. She's not doing just react videos anymore, so she's talking to a HoloLive chick, which is very, very big, Cervasis Fawna. Only 3 things I know she does is tier lists, a lot of video game Let's Plays, like a lot of other typical HoloLive VTubers do, or VShojo people, or any of the other Japanese, Asian, Chinese organizations that own virtual VTubing companies and factories. I knew this way back in the day when Little Michaela, Hatsune Miku was a thing. Even a black chick on BET, I remember it was like a virtual reality computer-generated person. It wasn't AI yet. It wasn't a virtual VTuber behind the scenes doing like green screen motion capture, but I remember leaving the links to description box down below. I'll try to remember. I had 3 other articles to talk about it, so I'm doing a 1.5 speed, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Very, very cute chick, man. Very super pretty chick. This is the one she's talking to, Fawna. Cervasis the Fawna. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to VTuber Night Live. We're here with the lovely Fawna.
I don't know if this is her or not.
How are you doing, Fawna?
I'm well, and you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you for being here. I
Is this
really appreciate
Cervasis Fawna
it.
from
How would you
HoloLive or a
introduce
different
yourself? What kind of
Fawna?
VTuber are you?
I am a Christian Canadian Druid VTuber.
Oh, okay.
Very diverse.
So
How
it
long
might
have you
be a
been
different
VTubing?
chick.
I've been
Okay.
VTubing for a little over a year now. So I started in April 2022.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
let's
So it's
get
been
a
over a
go
year.
faster on
How has
that
it
one.
been?
It's been a fun journey.
Not 'cause I
I've
don't
learned a
care
lot.
about her. I
I think
love
when
the
most people start
content.
VTubing,
No
they just
offense to
assume
Lila
that
if you
they
watch
get their
this.
avatar and
I
they just
swear
play
I'm not
games
trying
or
to
do whatever kind of content they want. But
discredit you
there's
or
a lot of
anything,
really neat
but I
kind
just
of
wanna do it.
idiosyncrasies to VTubing that's kind of different than just streaming with a camera.
There's so much that goes into it that a lot of people don't know.
AO
So what
now.
inspired you to start VTubing?
That's a good question. I think I really liked the idea of being able to stream
Let me
with
see how many
an
minutes
avatar
this is.
because it let me
47
feel less
minutes.
shy, I think, in the beginning. And also
Sorry,
just
you
kind of
wanna
let me
leave-
make content
If
that
any of you
is
guys want to watch the original reaction with the normal time setting, I'll leave it in the link description box down below. Sorry.
kind of
for
different than
super
what
quick.
I'd been kind of watching. I had a lot of friends who streamed with
I just wanna
just like
see if
live
I
cams,
disagree or
and
agree with
you know, it was
some of
really
their
interesting,
takes on being
and
a VTuber.
they like to play a
And I'm
variety
not
of
a
games,
VTuber,
but I just kind of felt like
I've
everything
followed
was
him
just
for
kind
4
of the
years,
same
when I
at the
first
end of the
heard
day,
about
and
2019.
I was like, hey, you know
Wild.
what, like, I don't want to make this kind of
And
content
they're
if I'm
only
going
in
to make it. I want to make
Japan
something that
and
really sticks
freaking
out and
Indonesia and
kind of
Thailand
differentiates
and
me
China.
from the kind of, like, I don't know, stereotypical
That's
streamer.
how
So that's when I started
strict
looking
I
into VTubers more. And I know lots of people say that the industry is getting oversaturated, but I think because
It's
of
getting
the ability to
way
change your avatar and kind of
oversaturated as hell.
make your persona whatever you want.
That's not even an understatement. That thing is getting enormously getting pushed into one shot. If any people ever seen all these Japanese Asian videos, any people see like the conductor dudes trying to push them, all the like the conductors and the passengers into the freaking what's it called, the train with a broomstick. That's how big the VTuber shit's getting, and they're even on Streamy Awards now. The first time I ever saw that 2 days ago.
There's really, I don't think that it will get
Crazy.
oversaturated because
And
people
taking
can,
over the freaking
like,
internet
there's basically
big time.
no ends to the imagination. Whatever you can think of, you can basically try and illustrate and animate.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I hear people say that sometimes. Like, I think some people struggle with whatever their goals are as a VTuber, and so they're like, oh, there's so many people, it's hard to compete. But I actually
A
think
lot of goals that a lot of other people struggle with, Lila. A whole bunch. And not even just being a VTuber, being anything. Just the old school Instagrammer, TikToker, any of the other thing, or Redditor, if that's even a thing, being an influencer or Redditor, I have no idea. Or obviously YouTube, and of course X now, since Twitter unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. Jagasi Elon Musk news on that. You're going to see it Friday, though. Oh! Some crazy ass wild stuff. People were booing him off this Valorant tournament contest thing. It was bad. It said, bring back Twitter, bring back Twitter. It was crazy. I'll do that on Friday.
there's a lot of space. It's just that people come into it and they're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be. These are the games I'm supposed to
Let me put
play.
a
This is
little
what my
bit
model's
brighter.
supposed to look like.
Sorry
And they
if
can
it's
find
not
themselves
that
to that, and that makes it feel like they have less options than they really have.
I agree. I think people get really stuck in the,
There's
I
a
can either
bunch
be
of
say-so
options.
or
The thing is,
unsay-so
it
or I
costs
have
so
to get
much
cat
money.
girl
It's like
or like
$40,000
whatever.
for
And I
freaking
think that really
VTuber
limits
persona.
what
It's
you're able to
insane.
make if you see, you know, if you
In my
just need to broaden your view. There's so many cool things that people can do with VTubing, whether it's live 2D or 3D.
Yeah, and you mentioned before that you like to do things differently. I'm wondering, what makes you so different from other VTubers?
There are other streamers who do something similar than I do, but I approach a lot of my streams from a more spiritual perspective. I am a person of the faith, and I like to incorporate that into my streams. I do something on
really?
Sundays called
Oh,
Sabbath
that's
Sunday, where
cool.
I do
That's nice.
introductions to the Christian faith. It's for everybody to come and learn,
Oh,
regardless of if you
congratulations.
are a person
Nice.
of the faith or not. And yeah, I
I
just
would
don't
kind
think
of was already raised in that thing, especially to being a big Hispanic or sometimes black church. That's the old senior citizen boomer way of seeing a Christian evangelical. It was a lot more extra, way more extra bigoted and a lot more fucking judgmental back in those days. Nowadays, maybe it's a little bit more looser. But back then it was harsh, man.
You necessarily
really
see that in the VTuber community as much because, you know, it just kind of seems weird that you try and mix anime with religion.
Which is really sad because so much of anime actually has spiritual elements to it.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like art and spirituality are so interconnected. It's a shame to keep them separate.
And when I think of how I would approach like ministry to kids really like cartoons. And, you know, I know calling anime a cartoon can be, you know, sinful to some communities. But at the end of the day, I think if you had a kid and you sat them down and you said, hey, do you want to learn about the Bible from this person here? Or do you want to learn about the Bible from this animated short? I think nine out of 10 times the kids will say, I want to watch the cartoon. I want to watch the
shorts and freaking TikTok shorts are the biggest thing in the freaking world right now. So I'm glad she's definitely aiming her goals the right way. Chef's kiss her right now. I don't agree with her or not. Miss Fawna the Fawna.
I want to watch the animation, so it's just kind of nice. It broadens people's perspectives and, you know, lets them see that, you know, faith isn't just something that is, you know, delivered in person, but it can be delivered on the internet or through media or I don't know, just something that's different than the kind of stereotypical brick and mortar ministry.
You know, what that reminds me of is in Japan, for college classes, for example, they actually animate their lessons sometimes with an anime girl.
Really?
Because they know it's so much more entertaining to have like this animated character learning with you as opposed to it being like, all right, I'm sitting here passively taking in information. So it's really cool to see that element of let's make education entertaining in VTubing.
I super agree. And for me, it's like when I'm watching content now, I really just like to watch VTubers because I'm not just watching the gameplay. I'm also watching the model. I'm watching the model's expressions. I'm seeing the different animations. I'm seeing the physics. And it's like...
that's the thing. When I did a video two or 2.5 years ago about the Breed of Anything, the Anime Man and the Garbage Cast, I forgot what it was called, Trash Podcast. Him and ConCW. I'm not even sure they still do that anymore. They may or may not. The expressions, the facial expressions a lot of these VTuber girls make, and guys too. There are men out there that do VTubing too. It's not just all women. I actually saw an interview that Lila did with the other dude. He sounded like he was more into ASMR or that BDSM stuff. I was like, I don't know, man. He sounded like, not trying to make fun of the dude, but he sounded like he tried to be like a creepypasta, like sort of storyteller, fan fiction artist sort of dude from Tumblr. Or he sounded like he was like real super shy, super mega introverted, like very super anxiety-induced type of guy. I don't know his name. I'm not trying to desecrate the dude's name, but I'll leave it in the link description box down below. I watched that one on my own time. I agree with a few of the stuff he did. He always wanted to live his anime fantasy worlds, which, hey, that's cool, but just don't take it to the extreme. Don't be a freaking furry anthropomorphic fool trying to be like some cat or dog and being a dog so you can start crapping in real life and pissing in public in real life pretending that you're a cat or a dog. If I remember to leave the links to that video, I'll leave it down below. That's sad, but hopefully they don't do
just
that.
Just sit in front of a camera and play, and you can be animated and scream and do whatever. But I think when it comes from, you know, an animated avatar, there's just so much more personality, in my opinion. When you get, for example, a live 2D model or a 3D model, how to actually animate your face to look interesting because it's also easy to just look plain.
Yeah, for sure, and toggle help. But, you know, face tracking is kind of like an art form.
That's the thing. The more and more extraordinary you want to like your virtual VTuber, it's like your persona. And even people remember old school DeviantArt or C-Pixel or freaking... what else? Something Bubble. I forgot what it was called. Not even Photoshop, but it was something like Photoshop, but better than that. It wasn't C-Pixel or DeviantArt, the old school one, before it got bought out by fucking WordPress or something. I think Verizon or Yahoo bought it. I don't know. We're able to do your arts, interior designs, or character customization for free almost. Unless you wanted commissions and stuff. We're able to do this and that, like make it more extraordinary design. I even saw two of them actually. It was like a megalodon shark, like tiger head shark VTuber. I never even knew until like 3 days ago. And then another one that was like a freaking rabbit slash, not a sloth? I don't know, rabbit mixed with a freaking raccoon. And it wasn't Snuffy either, it was another one. So it's wild. It's a bunch of
options to do that. Yeah, like you have to go into VTube Studio and play with the settings, but it's also very much how do you act behind the camera, because that really makes it come alive.
No, exactly. And I remember watching Shy Lily, who is a more prominent VTuber, and how she trained herself for months to be able to get the right facial expressions that she wanted, so that when she was playing a game that, you know, she could give the correct, like, oh, I'm surprised face, or when she was, you know, wanting to look interested, she was really good at raising her eyebrows, but also like making sure to keep her like eyes still big and inquisitive. And it's so interesting to see kind of the real kind of nitty gritty of like, how do I make my model do everything that I know that it can do? And a lot of it comes down to the rigging on both ends for 3D and,
luckily 4 years ago, I didn't
and even there's aspects for PNG tubing too. If you have multiple different expressions for your PNG tuber, I think that also is an art.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned Shy Lily. That was actually my first VTuber, and I learned so much from her, including the acting. And I was like, really?
I didn't know Lilia, the one, got inspired by Shy Lily. I thought it was like another trick, like the other one, the Katsune Miku thing. Hatsune Miku, no, the other one. AI. AI-chan chick. I forgot what her name was. Kazuna AI. Because he was the very first one that did that shit way back in like 2016 or 2017. That was way before that became almost barely mainstream, because it's not yet. 2025 or 2030 will probably be mainstream by then. That's what I'm worried about. A lot of these Gen Zers and Gen like alphas, I'm worried as frick that they're going to get bought into this big time. They're going to have way worse parasocial relationships. It's going to be like the Joaquin Phoenix movie Her. It's either going to be like that, and all the Netflix like futuristic sci-fi movies are like Black Mirror. I hope it doesn't come to Black Mirror, because if it ends up being like that, I'm moving the hell out to the freaking woods in Seattle, Washington somewhere. I ain't staying in this bitch. I'm sorry. Or Canada.
You have to exaggerate your expressions to get this to work. Wow.
Well, it's almost like you have to. It's acting in in its kind of most basic form. It is a form of acting, because if you didn't have a camera, you would still have to make those facial expressions to appear surprised. The first videos that I saw was a clip of her on YouTube being like, yeah, I don't just sit here and press a button and my model makes faces. Like sometimes my face will hurt because I've smiled so much, or I've been trying to stay surprised, or I'm trying to emphasize my movements a lot and really show off the physics. So this is, it's interesting. I've learned a lot from her, not just to be a better entertainer, but to take advantage of, the resources that I have and the resources that I've invested in.
Was there a VTuber that really inspired you? Do you have a VTuber Oshi?
There's a lot of VTubers that I really love and appreciate. I don't think that there was one VTuber that really got me into VTubing. If I had to pick an Oshi now, I really love Tofi Music. She is she's a music composer, but she works a lot with corporate VTubers. She's done music for Ninja Sanji. She did Bao soundtrack. She just redid Vienna's Alert Sounds and soundtrack. So I really, really love her content. Her music is beautiful. Her streams are really fun and cozy. In terms of actively viewing, I don't really watch many big VTubers because I really like interacting with the streamer. So I feel like sometimes it's not that I'm not getting the attention that I want from bigger streamers, but I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna watch this bigger streamer for the entertainment aspect for it, not for the interactability of it. So that's where Tofi comes in, because she is a smaller streamer in the sense of oh, hey, her numbers aren't in the hundreds. It's really nice to say something or comment on something that she's asking chat, and it's oh, okay, cool, she's interacting more. So it's just a different experience between my if I had to pick my small streamer Oshi versus my corpo Oshi. I really like Petra though. If I had to pick a corpo Oshi, I really, really like her. She's adorable. Her singing is beautiful. I think she's really witty, and I really just love her design. Her design is adorable.
And I think that's totally valid too, because I've had people in my chat say, I could watch the bigger VTubers, but I don't feel this personal connection, because it's 1,000 comments per second. How is anyone going to be able to really interact with anyone?
Oh, yeah.
And if you pay attention,
that part's still humanly impossible. You can't do 100,000 or a million. You can't read every single one of those comments. That's impossible, bro. If I was the person at a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer, I was 1 million+ subscriber, I couldn't do that. I'd have to have a whole team and editors and writers and producers behind my back to freaking make that a full-time job. I'd be stressed out.
That too. A lot of people aren't talking to the streamer themselves. They're talking to each other about something related to what's happening. So it's the big streamer becomes this planet that everyone is orbiting around, as opposed to it being we're all a community, if that makes sense.
No, exactly. Just two different experiences, and I prefer the kind of smaller end. But when I'm looking for something funny or something, more kind of maybe scripted or planned out, that's when I really like to watch Petra.
So, Fawna, I'm going to give you the floor for a moment to talk about something that you may want to talk about. Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think the question that I get asked the most when I have viewers approach me is oh, how do I even start VTubing? Because it's really easy for you to watch the shorts of people saying, hey, do you want to be a VTuber? Here's 3 easy ways to do it. But there's a lot more to it than just what is shown in these shorts, and I don't think it's discussed enough. I've had several people that I've discussed with, because I do live 2D rigging, and so I have experience with working with the art. But I've had people get scammed a lot, where they'll commission an artist on Twitter, or they'll find a Fiverr artist, and they'll say, oh, well, I have this art, but my rigger won't rig it. Why? And I'll take a look and I'll say, oh, well, it's because it's not explained what all of the criterion that you need in order to VTube, PNG tubing, live 2D VTubing, and 3D VTubing all have different criteria and requirements in order for you to get started. But none of that I feel
I stopped watching that a while ago, because that shit gave me a headache after watching so many VR chat streams and videos. None of them were not safe for work or R34 or prawn or any of that lustful thing. It was just regular VR chat. Stuff about mental health, mental awareness, mental illness, all that other stuff. I'm not a psychologist or therapist or any therapeutic person, but I can't imagine how they do it. I have no idea how they could be that calm and they need help on a spiritual, mental, and financial level of help. I don't know how the fuck they do it. There's no way in hell they'd be able to do that. Do you want to billion people and think that you're your own God, your own Jesus, and you have all the answers and you never have your own problem? I don't know how psychologists and therapists do that, Musma. I couldn't go through that mess at all. God bless the other people that do that, but for me, I couldn't.
into detail. So that's why there's so many people that are like, oh, I want to do it, but I have no idea how.
I've seen posts on Twitter about this where people are like, I want to get started, but I have no idea what to do. And it feels like there's no central hub of information or anything. It's very much he said, she said, or someone makes a promise of something. And then you find out, oh, actually, this is a scammer account. And, now the person's off Twitter all of a sudden and you can't get your money back. It really sucks. How do you think we could resolve that? Do you think that it's more about, maybe bigger creators and the community in general should be sharing information more often? Like, how do we solve that?
I feel like at the core of it, the VTubing community is really good about not gatekeeping how to VTube, but there's no central consensus on like what your steps should be because there's so many ways to approach it. Reddit has been a really good source. Reddit has a lot of guides on how to get started depending on what avenue you want to go through. But I honestly, like, if you're a viewer and you have an Oshi and your Oshi is open to you asking questions in Discord or asking questions on Twitter, like getting down to the root of somebody who kind of has their resources together, I think is the best way instead of just trying to dive in blind and really figure it out. Because like I've been burned for, whether it's art or rigging or whatever, because I had no idea. I was just excited and eager and, was very trusting. But yeah, I'm always open. I've had people who say, Fawna, like, how do I get started? Like, what should I do? And I always suggest and say, stream first with with nothing. Like, stream with no cam. Just stream with a mic and your game and see if you even like streaming in the first place.
Some people can do the stream with no cam even like not being a virtual VTuber. I remember way back in the day, people use like freaking old school Windows 6, Windows 7 freaking Paint. Or Windows like freaking Animate or Apple Windows, Apple something customizer. And they just use their own old C as a 1D flat cartoon character. That's how they used to
because that's a huge first step. My second step would be like invest in a PNG because PNGs are often more affordable and more accessible for people to be like get into. Also, VTube Mini is free. I highly recommend that if you do the PNG route, that you support the creators of VTube Mini because they do set it for free, but they would like to have some kind of compensation. So whatever you can afford, whether it's $5, $10, $15, it's great software. You will use it forever and ever and ever because say one day your camera isn't tracking for 3D or your camera isn't tracking for live stream. You can always default back to having your PNG because it's only mic reactive. So that would be like my very first step. See if you like streaming, then move over to a PNG. And if you're super passionate about VTubing once you have your PNG, then you can move on to getting an animated live 2D model. You can maybe move over and do a make your own Vroid model. There's Vroid models that you can commission. The big, massive Blendered 3D models are incredibly beautiful, but definitely more of a crowdfunded project to work on. If I had to, if I was to encourage anybody to start,
unless you're really, really faithful and committed to do something like a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter, fingers crossed you get successful into that. Because there's a lot of scammers and asshole pieces of crap that fake that, oh, my person went into this, they went in a car accident there, and they're on drugs and they're on all these other problems. There's a crap ton of stuff that goes on Fiverr, Kickstarter, or freaking, what else? What'd she say? GoFundMe. Be careful on that.
Just stream even 3 times. Stream 3 times with no camera. Play a game. See how you interact with the viewers that come and watch you. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I love this, then work on creating your persona or your OC and just get the picture of it down. Figure out what your design is and then ask an artist to make it with a mouth closed and a mouth open, throw it into VTube Mini, and then see how you go from there.
I agree. I've seen so many people over the past year spend a bunch of money on a beautiful model and assets, and a lot of them aren't even streaming anymore. I feel so bad for people who are just like, oh, I'll definitely enjoy this. This looks fun. Playing games, talking to chat, oh, how hard can it be? And then they start it and they realize, oh, actually, this isn't for me. It's a lot more tough than I thought. You do have to worry about like judgments of people on the internet. Not everyone on Twitter is nice. There's a lot of difficulties that people don't see. They just see how glamorous it is, and they're like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I'm not a big streamer. I'm a pretty small streamer in the grand scheme of things, and like I've just learned to ignore Twitter because it's way easier to just go on Twitter and complain and whine and go witch hunt people than actually do anything productive. Which sounds very negative, and I hate to frame it like that, but that's kind of at the end of the day when I'm looking at my community on Twitter. I'm very blessed to have them because they're very supportive and loving, and they like to share my content, and I'm really, really fortunate for that. But there's always the the fear in behind where it's like, if I say something, whether it's on stream or on Twitter, like I already know that if somebody disagrees and it catches enough flame, like there will be a huge, massive forest fire to put out, and then it's like that pressure is really scary. But at the end of the day, it's like okay, it's also just a bunch of people who like to feel angry and feel outraged too. So you kind of have to look at it from both perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. You got every kind of person on Twitter. There's a lot of wonderful people. Most of my community came from Twitter over to Twitch, and then like Twitch helped, but it really started with Twitter. There's a lot of good people here, but you get all sides of humanity on social media, so you have to be prepared for all sides, good and bad. And if you can practice,
I didn't come from on Twitch to Twitter. I came from YouTube, and then later I found her on Twitter and then Twitch, because that's how I found her out. Like, oh, she used to be a little lolly goth chick or something, or demon bat chick, and then she changed into a black sheep now, so she has a different like fake like persona thing, which is real beautiful. It's awesome. It's nice to look at. I don't care if it's fake or if it's real. It's awesome. Has a wonderful ass personality, even though I don't know her IRL, but I didn't know her from that. I learned her for like Internet Historian, I think is the one that told me about her, or somebody else, and then I found her like that. It was funny.
detachment before getting into
stuff.
VTubing. I really recommend it, because there are some people who get attached to, you know, any criticism they get, and they suffer for it. I think it's important to keep in mind what you do have, the love you do have, and not to like magnify the little bit of negativity you will get from time to time.
Because you're never going to please everyone. At the end of the day, like, I have people who come into my stream. I'm very much of the sense of like, hey, you know, I'm going to talk about God occasionally on stream. I'm not here to indoctrinate you. I'm here to share, you know, my faith because I'm passionate about it. And if people are interested and want to pursue further, that's something that I'm super willing to help with and help guide through. But I'll even still have people come in just to be hateful for no reason. And I think that would happen whether I'm a VTuber or not. But you just kind of have to say, okay, like, this person is looking for attention, whether it's positive or negative. You know, is this going to have a huge impact on my community? Probably not. Was it inspired by me? Probably not at the end of the day. You know, lots of people just love to browse tags on Twitch and just be toxic for no reason other than they're bored.
When people are looking to start something, they will find a reason. Even if you don't give them one, they will invent one. So have confidence in yourself, have faith in yourself.
And it might not even be real people. Some of them are fake AI algorithm bots on Twitter, AKX. There's like burner accounts, or they're fake troll accounts that harass. And they're like a virus on that fucking thing, man. Big time. They do not give a rat's ass who they attack, who they manipulate. It was a show I was even watching from Tubi. I know, I'm a boomer. I like Tubi, though. Tubi's fun as hell. I was watching a show called The Trolls. It was from 2017, a long time. It was like from Australia to the UK, United Kingdom. They showed the London Big Ben Tower and shit. And then giant, like, soccer, a.k.a., you know, football, as I call it over there, stadiums. And they found all these people that were trolls, and they brought them to justice big time. These are one of the nastiest scumbag pieces of garbage on the planet. I wish they get eliminated, but they're just going to go to prison. Very few of them even get caught. This is 2016, 2017 now. A lot more different compared to 2023.
You always have your friends to reach out to. Not everything has to be a public tweet. Sometimes it has to go there, but I feel like 90% of the time it doesn't have to.
Literally 90% of the time. I have a dump server for that, like on Discord. If I'm like, hey, I'm really frustrated about something, but I know if I voice it on Twitter, it's going to either be inflammatory or just not productive, then I'll just write it in my dump server just so I can get it off my chest so that it's written down somewhere. And then it's like, okay, cool, I've typed it out. My feelings are there.
Either go on Reddit or Twit Longer. Twit Longer and Reddit, or maybe Telegram, but nowadays Telegram's a lot more of a scam for the get the crypto crap here, or you want a prize here. This is a load of bullshit with Telegram nowadays. Just sad.
To the nether, and then I can just move on.
That's a very healthy coping mechanism, actually. Wow, that's really smart. Huh. It's like a personal vent channel.
Yeah, basically. Like, I have a dump channel where I do all my, like, I have like all my VTubing stuff. So I have my little, like, garbage corner of like, hey, I'm feeling like this way, or this happened on stream today and I'm really frustrated that it happened, or my camera clogged out today and I had to go back to use like my PNG, but VTube wouldn't load, or like whatever kind of feelings I have. If I'm like, hey, these aren't productive for anyone, including myself, I'll just type them out, and then it's like, okay, cool, it's out, it's not in my body anymore, it's in the internet, in my little dump server, and then I can just move on and say, okay, what can I do differently next time, or how can I, engage with my community better next time, or I don't know, just approach an issue different next time. I have like a 3-strike rule. If somebody's gonna come in and be inflammatory or just be toxic, it's like, oh, hey, this is your, you're breaking part of my TOS on stream, just letting you know. You have 2 more chances, and then if they're not going to do it, I'm usually pretty lenient in understanding that, people come in. I've had people come in before and say, hey, I don't know if I feel safe in your stream. Is it like an affirming stream? Like, are you LGBTQ plus affirming? Like, am I welcome here? And it's like, of course you are. Like, everybody's welcome here. I'm not here to, put judgment on who you are. You're a beautifully crafted human being, and I just want to be able to come here to interact with you, provide you some entertainment for the day, and if you ever have questions about faith and stuff, that's what I'm here for. But I'm not here to just make you believe in my faith, because I know just how diverse people's experiences are. But I want to be a positive light for my faith, so that when people come and say, hey, I met this Christian, her name is Fawna, she likes to talk about, the gospel on the internet, and it's really just nice to hear her say that, I'm welcome even if I don't know anything, or even if my opinions differ from hers.
The way the world's going nowadays, talking about the gospel, Yahshua, Yahweh, Hashem, Yah, Jesus Christ, and all that. I came from an old school Christian background with parents too. Sometimes they were a little bigoted. Sometimes my dad was a lot more understanding. My mom, she was a lot more of a stricter pain in the ass to deal with when it came to Christianity stuff. My dad was a lot more chill and laid back with that, thank God. So he's still my best friend to this day, even though I rarely ever talk to him, only once or twice out of the month. He still got my back. Anyways, yeah, I know how that shit works. Sometimes it's very indoctrinated. If I see any people who are black or Hispanic churches, they will freaking beat you on the freaking head with that Bible, man. Big time. Especially if you're in a Pentecostal or synagogue sort of church or anything with like freaking Methodist thing. Now, they do not play around with that mess, man. But let's move on.
I love to agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, as long as you respect my faith, I'm going to respect yours.
So there's a question coming to my mind, and I'm still wording it out. Are you willing to share like the story of like what your faith means to you? Because I know some people sometimes have a moment in their life where maybe they weren't faithful, but then something happened and they were like, oh shit, a spiritual epiphany. And I'm wondering if something like that happened to you, or if it was like...
That could happen. Those are called visions and dreams. I know I'm not no televangelist, any of those people that, oh, this thing's going to happen next time. I'm not trying to be a doomsday or any of that. Because nobody knows the day or hour where Jesus and God and Holy Spirit's going to come and then does the snatching away, the harpazo, or the rapture thing or any of that. I don't know. Whenever it does happen, I hope to God I get into it. But if I don't, I got to face all these demons on this earth that come out in real life as AI robots or crazy zombies or aliens or any of that shit. I pray he's still going to have my back because I don't want to get left in this freaking hellhole when that happens. That's going to be torture for all eternity. Scariness. Not trying to say, oh, it's hell, fire, brimstone, because that place is very real, in my personal opinion. No atheists are going to fight me, and non-theists aren't going to disagree with me on that, but that's true. And having a spiritual pit, especially nowadays on YouTube, you got to either go to Brighteon, BShoot, or freaking Rumble if you want to get your Christianity, evangelical sort of views out there. In my opinion.
Gradual, everyone has their spiritual story.
Can't really do
it so within the Christian community, that's called your testimony. And a testimony is basically how you came to know Jesus in your life and what made you drawn in so that you would accept him as your savior is kind of like the gist of what
Personal
your testimony
Lord
is. Looking at it in retrospect as, you know, an adult looking back, God had always interceded in my life in a lot of ways. I grew up in a broken family and had a really kind of rough start to my life. I had parents who worked long hours, so I was a very parentified kid growing up. And I think that God had placed specific people in my life to take care of me and to teach me how to be independent when I needed to be. And then as I came into my late teenhood and just living in a really unstable and kind of chaotic environment, I really was just aiming to be exactly what my family wanted me to be, not what I wanted to be. I had no kind of sense of self-identity. I was more of like, oh, this is what my family expects me to be, so that's what I'm going to do. And I want to make them proud, and I will make them proud. But at the end of the day, I kept failing, and I would make mistakes, and I was doing something, like I was going to school for things I didn't want to study, and I just had no motivation, and I just felt like, you know, what is the point in me trying to please everybody when I can't do it? I'm just a failure. And so a lot of this really kind of accumulated when my husband, he was my best friend at the time, we had a big fight, and he ghosted me for 4 months, and I was really lonesome, and I just couldn't figure out why he would do that. But it turns out that he ended up going to Bible college and just needed some time to just reflect and understand what was going on in his life and how.
That's the only difference. I didn't go to no Bible evangelical college. I had to cost a crap ton of money to go in there. I don't know if it's like Harvard or Stanford. It's probably opposite of that, but or Catholic school or Christian college, Bible college school. I don't know. I know my old man's friends. He went to Bible college. He became a theologian, a real huge theologian, freaking professor dude too. He ended up falling short. He ended up being an alcoholic and a huge druggie, unfortunately, a burnout / huge bump, which is sad. And he's way older than me too. He's like 65, 68. He's old enough to be my dad too, but that hurt to see it, man. It really did. I remember his name was Juan or Jameson. Cool dude, man.
No, he was to fit in the world because we were both just very much like, you know, where do I fit? What do I do? I was so focused on trying to be, you know, the perfectionist daughter of, you know, I was going to go to like school to be a teacher or go to like into medical school and stuff like that. Like it was just really one of those things where I was just trying to get good grades and do exactly what my parents wanted. And so he contacted me at Christmas time and we reconnected. And, you know, we discussed like why we had our huge fight and how, you know, we hurt each other that way, like hurt our little feelings. And so, yeah, then we chatted when we went back to Bible college and I just saw this transformation from this kind of like mopey, very like, you know, unconfident kid. And he was growing up to be this like very like self-assured and super proud of his faith. And I was like, wow, like that's really neat. Like, you know, maybe I should start looking into this because I feel like, you know, whether it was a school or whether it was his relationship with his faith, I'm like, wow, like that's really, really neat. And so, yeah, he started to teach me and I started to look into it and we slowly went from just being friends to dating. And yeah, finally when
Jesus Christ, that's what's happening about the interdivine dimensional like / really good trust him inheritance in heaven, man. To have that freaking connection with the great creator, aka Jesus, man. That's the only way to go. My
I had a big fight with my parents and I was failing my courses in university and I was just like, hey, like there's no point. Like the only person that, you know, I really love and I feel loved by is, you know, my boyfriend at the time. And so I was like, you know, God, if you're real, you're going to take my anxiety away, you're going to take my depression away, and tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to feel fine. And obviously that sounds, you know, outrageous. That sounds so silly to just yell into like space, like, hey, I'm not going to feel like, you know, anxious anymore with someone who has, you know, general anxiety, has, you know, a diagnosed disorder. But yeah, the next day I woke up and I was like, why don't I feel that buzz in my chest anymore? Like, why do I feel like I can think clearly? And I kind of passed it off as being like emotionally drained from the night before.
Good.
But then the next day passed and I still didn't feel that humming buzz in my chest and in my brain. Like I was like, this is like so weird. And I was like, oh my gosh, like God, you know, God came into my life today. So that was kind of the pivotal moment of me, you know, coming to know Christ. And then I really started diving into, you know, looking into the Bible and like what it means to be a Christian and, you know, what it means to set myself apart from people who live, you know, kind of like in the Christian world, we call it a secular lifestyle. Secular just means living your life without God. So a secular lifestyle versus a Christian lifestyle. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I feel like this is a God who has actively been in my life for a really long time, but I just never had the experience to see because I never had that upbringing. I grew up faithless. Later on in life, my family became Darwinists. And so, yeah, it's interesting. It's another lifestyle and another outlook.
Theory of evolution. Everyone came from like the monkey and the whole eugenics, and that's really, really dark. No offense to her family. They became fucking assholes. I'm sorry. Became garbage pieces of human.
Life? that I don't necessarily agree with now, but I respect people who,
you know,
have embraced this approach. But yeah, like that was really my pivotal moment, and I just want other people to be able to feel the same way that I do if they feel as possible. Because for me, living in a world where like things are dictated by whether it's, you know, specifically evolution or it's specifically like survival of the fittest, that was the aspect of Darwinism that my parents really held on to, was the strong thrive, the weak die kind of thing. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because if the strong live and the weak die, like that's not how society works. That's not how, you know, this central basis of morality of, you know, we need to love one another and, you know, be good to your neighbor. And like it seems so counterintuitive to me. So I'd always kind of felt this like, oh, hey, you know, I don't agree with everything that my parents do. And obviously not everybody can.
It's worse.
But I'm like, no, I now understand why that's fundamentally different that way.
Yeah, wow. You know, I didn't know about your upbringing, and it sounds so...
It was a shirt. Damn, I don't remember what the shirt was, but the sad thing that happened in Colorado, 1999. I remember I was a 10-year-old kid. His 90s kid, or 2000 kid at the time. The whole Columbia thing that happened, sadly. The two names I can't even say because I don't want to get my channel completely destroyed or deleted, but the one that was called Harris and the other one was called, like, Rulfin. It was called, like, something like, individualityism. I forgot what it was. Damn. It was something. It was something really, really weird. It says something like choice, individuality. I don't know. I'll leave the link down below.
Like my own. So hearing that, I'm just like, wow. You've come very far. And I want to say that although I don't know you well, I'm still really proud of you, because I know what it's like to be parentified at a young age and to not have like anyone to keep you safe, and it feels like you're kind of fighting to keep yourself alive and trying to find a reason to keep going. And I'm just glad you're still here.
You gotta be powerful, tough.
I'm proud of you too. I think honestly, just being able to share those lived experiences with people who, you know, have the same experiences in common is just really nice to be like, hey, you know, we both made it out the other side. We've approached it from different perspectives, but at the same time, we've still overcome, you know, great trials and tribulation at the end of the day. And I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Oh man, and that reminds me so much of why I started VTubing. In the beginning, I was in a really bad place health-wise, like bedridden, couldn't do anything, couldn't go outside and socialize, and VTubing was my thing that kept me going. And I would not be who I am right now if not for my fans and my friends that I met through VTubing. And it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy how people and forces can come into your life and change it in such a short period of time. And sometimes you don't fully notice in the moment just how much you've changed, but then you look back and you're like, whoa, I did that.
Luckily, I can interact.
No, exactly right. And like from my spiritual perspective, it's like I don't believe in coincidences, because for me, I feel like, you know, God orchestrates all, and so it's like, you know what, like regardless of if you feel like God has orchestrated this or whether this was just coincidental in life, it's like, wow, like this experience even that we're having right now, it's like it's not a coincidence. I think we were supposed to come and talk together today and, you know, share different aspects of ourselves and our passions, and yeah, I think that it's, you know, going to put us into, I don't know, the direction that God wants us to go. And regardless of if you feel like God moves you in your own life or not, but yeah, I don't know. I can just see that there's forces in the world that, like, you can't just say that it's a coincidence. Like, there's no such thing. Like, everything has a premeditative plan. So, I don't know. That's how I like to think about it anyway.
No, I agree. And in a similar light, I also don't believe in, like, regrets. Because I'm like, well, everything happens for a reason. It was a lesson. It may have caused a lot of suffering, but that doesn't mean it wasn't meaningful and that you didn't learn anything or that you didn't, you know, get stronger from it. Although, you know, sometimes genuinely bad things happen to people, like when they're young and not prepared to be strong. But still, our experience can become wisdom, and then with that wisdom, we can help other people who maybe we find that are going through the same things. And so I feel like everything does have a purpose. I agree with that.
Yeah, and the way that I like to look at it from my kind of ministry perspective is like, I wouldn't be able to talk to people who had my shared experiences if I hadn't had them. So, like a huge part of my ministry is I work with youth. And so it's like, yeah, you know, I have a lot of youth who have parents who are divorced, which I also have parents that are divorced. And I have a lot of kids who are angry that their parents either just couldn't make the marriage work, or, you know, that ex-parent is awful for leaving, or, you know, whatever whatever circumstances have arisen. And it's like, I couldn't minister to you unless I had those experiences. So even though it was really unfortunate for child me, it's really important for adult me to be able to help other kids who are going through the same thing, so they don't feel as alone, or they feel like, you know, nobody can understand them when, no, I can understand you. And I know what you've gone through, and I know the pain that you felt, and you're supported here.
And that's really beautiful, because in a way, it's kind of like you have the opportunity to help the younger version of yourself heal by helping these children. It comes full circle.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. Wow.
I'm so inspired right now.
And like there's days where I get stuck in it though, where it's like, wow, like I look at my life and I've been diagnosed as a late diagnosis as low spectrum needs autism and ADHD, and it's like, wow, you know, I wonder if my parents had taken an extra moment to really observe how I did things, if I would have either been diagnosed earlier or I'd been able to get different coping mechanisms. And I felt really bitter about that for a long time, because I had nobody to see this, and I obviously couldn't see this within myself because I was a child. And so yeah, there's still days where I'm like, wow, I'm this way because, you know, my parents did X, Y, or Z, and it's like I can choose to look at it that way and choose to, kind of self-pity. But at the end of the day, I can mourn the loss, and mourning is a big process. Sometimes it takes, days, sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes it takes months or years. But just coming back to it, it's like, okay, but my parents are also imperfect people too. Like, I am just as imperfect as they are. They didn't know what they were doing, and they may have unintentionally had done all of these things to me. So, it's trying to approach it from the perspective of grace of like, these people, maybe their parents had also, failed them. Yeah. And, maybe their grandparents had been, failed as well. So I like to look at it as, I am self-reflective, and I want to be the one to break the generational trauma and the generational hurt that has gone on, so that going forward, I can take what I've learned and hopefully, help, the future generations learn. And I already know that I will hurt people because I'm imperfect. I'm going to say something, or I'm going to, approach an issue, or I'm going to make somebody feel excluded. But I just hope that people would have, the bravery to say, hey, Fawna, like, you made me feel this way, and then I can be accountable for my actions and say, oh, I didn't mean to. Like, will you please forgive me? Like, I think that that's really important because, forgiveness and feeling forgiven and giving that forgiveness is, it's a relationship thing. And I think that everybody should have the ability to voice, when they feel hurt.
Self-compassion for yourself and others is huge. I feel especially when you come from a background with trauma, when there's like ADHD, autism involved too. Like, I have depression, anxiety, CPTSD, and I think I have ADHD. And these are all things that were not diagnosed until I was an adult. And I've had those moments too where I was like, I am so far behind someone my age because of such and such reasons. You can get stuck in that thought loop of just rehashing the negative stuff. And it keeps you stuck in the past. It keeps you living there and doesn't let you move forward with your life. Having compassion for yourself, and I remember having especially, I want to say, people who struggle with
ADHD. When I had ADHD, that's the way worse. When I was able to get off of that until I was 21, 22 years old. So when I started growing up as a more of a man, mature adult male. By the time I was 22, 23 at that time. Thank God I didn't have ADHD. I would have been permanent.
Abilities. This need to compete and to be like everyone else. We do have limitations. We are human in our own ways. Being able to accept ourselves and know that we are enough, even when the world kind of doesn't make us feel that way. So important, man. So important. And I wish that more people in the VTuber community knew that, because I see sentiments like that all the time. Has ADHD or autism helped or harmed your ability to be a VTuber? And do you think that there may be a stigma against that in the community sometimes?
It's been really interesting because I got diagnosed in February of this year, so I'm really trying to be self-reflective and how, now knowing these, attributes for myself. I don't want to say that it's, an impairment or a disability because, they're part of who I am, and whether they make some things more difficult and whether they make some things easier is, always something to, consider. So, like, I am very intense. And I've always been intense. And so I don't know if that maybe comes from, my autistic side, but when I am very interested in something, I'm very hyper-focused, and I'm very like, this is what I want to do all the time, and I'm going to do it until I burn out. Because I'm very bad at gauging my energy levels that way, where it's like, oh, if it's something I'm really passionate about, that's all I want to do. The ADHD part of it is like, oh, cool, I'm going to make TikTok.
Okay, I don't really care about that.
And so, I don't know, I feel like that's also giving me some really, really cool and great things. Because, when I'm hyper-focused on doing shorts for, 5 days straight, and I make like 30 of them all at once, it's like, cool, I know that I can do it, but do I really like it? So it's like, oh, okay, I have to think about the things that I really do like. And at the end of the day, I like streaming. I love streaming. I love interacting with people. Am I good at video editing? No. But am I learning? I'm trying. Do I like TikTok content? No, not at all. I really don't like shorts content because I find it's just something that I'm just not interested in making. I'm just not very good at it. I'm not very good at scripted stuff. I'm very good at freeform. But yeah, I love project curation. So whether it's getting assets, helping other people get assets, whether it's like, organizing charity events, like those kind of project coordinations, I love because I get to do lots of different things kind of all at once. And then when a whole project, comes to a wrap and everything comes together, it's like, look at the accumulation of all my hard work. And then you just kind of see everything play out. So, I don't know. I feel like there's things that have been a hindrance, but also things that my ADHD and autism have made that only I can make because it's who I am.
Exactly. And, I also have the same mindset of I don't like calling things disabilities because it's really contextual. A lot of what we consider a learning disability is really just a learning disability because we have institutions that aren't designed to teach in more than one way. So it's like, oh, well, if you're not cookie cutter, material, then sucks to be you, I guess. You're broken. We don't have to adjust anything. It's just on you. And I think that sometimes society just blames too much on individuals rather than being accommodating. So yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned, like, it actually helps you in some ways. Like, that passion, that drive is an asset when you're a content creator.
I don't know about the whole, like, I don't find it as much in the VTuber community, but, like, in the corporate world itself, like, I have had people say, oh, well, like, she's really intense and she's really bossy. And it's like, okay, well, just because I'm, I'm a lady and I'm very type A and just very, organized and to the point, like, doesn't mean that I'm bossy. It just means that, like, I understand what my position requires me to do. And I think that I think that people who have high drive and high passion for things, I don't know, I think it kind of gets misconstrued as, like, the negative intensity and, like, oh, you're bossy and, oh, like, you're, prioritizing, like, weird things. And it's like, no, you know what? I'm prioritizing what makes me happy.
Exactly. And I've had that same experience of the drive being misconstrued as something else. I've tried to explain it to people too, like, I work as intensely as I do because it makes me happy. The results that come from it are like pure coincidence of the fact that I'm just having so much fun, that's why I do it so often. And it also like actually helps me regulate my depression and stuff. when I make stuff that makes me happy all the time. But I don't think that kind of drive is normal for people. So they see that and they're like, wow, like if that were me, that would take me several hours. Man, that person must be like a chronic workaholic and a number of other things. And I'm just over here like, no, I'm just vibing. This is just like what I was made for. That's why it looks so easy just because I'm passionate about it.
But yeah, it takes time to learn and it takes time to hone your craft and perfect things. And so when I look at something that I make and I'm like, oh well, like X creator makes it better, and it's like, well, how long has X creator been making things for? Or does X creator have the resources to hire somebody to do that? And it's like, oh yeah, no, like I need to settle down. I always set my production bar very, very high, and I have since the very beginning. It's like if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. And so I know lots of people are like, okay, Fawna, like you're taking like Stream Element sponsorships for games that people don't necessarily like, or I think that's kind of the stereotypical like, oh, that's a mobile game sponsorship, like this one's kind of lame, but it's like, but no, like I want to complete it and I want to do well because I know that the revenue that I make will be able to go into this project, and I know that this project will make me go from like like middle tier to like upper middle tier, and this will go towards overlays, and this will go towards like stream BGM or like whatever. And so I would rather work hard knowing that all of the resources that I'm working hard for go into something that I'm passionate about and that I want to be exactly the way I want it to be.
I've seen tweets where small VTubers will say something like, I've been streaming for a whole year, this person debuted yesterday, they have more followers than me, this sucks, this isn't fair, I've been working hard for so long, I should have more followers.
Algorithm is something that you can predict and something that you can try and ride, but there's also this element of luck. And I know that people don't like to be like, oh well, yeah, like this person is lucky, and it's like, yeah, maybe they had one tweet that blew up, and it was a lucky chance that X creator saw it and retweeted it, and they blew up that way. Okay, cool, great. But that shouldn't discourage you from continuing to try your best, because at the end of the day, and this is something that I learned from Rin Penrose. She's a VTuber from Idol. She's like, sometimes people will blow up, but they're not ready to blow up. And it's because they don't know, they don't know how to work within that community, or they didn't have the opportunity to build up a solid, core foundation of a community. So they know so many people in their community now, but it's like, oh, okay, but I don't only know people at a surface level, and I don't necessarily have like a core group of friends or creators or kind of inter-community members that I really trust. And all these people really liked me for this one video, and so now do I just have to make this one style of video? Like, sometimes it's hard. It's hard to be like, oh shoot, I'm blowing up, but I need to do I continue writing what I do? Do I just do what I love? Like, I think it's nice to grow slow so that you can really find your niche, really find what you like to do, and then do it well.
Yes, I wish people talked about this more often. I feel like we don't talk about the negative sides of success, I imagine, because we just hope it's all good because it seems glamorous, but growing too fast and not being prepared for it has destroyed people. Like literally, it's such a blessing to grow slowly because you have the opportunity to get used to the incremental shifts and you actually have a strong connection with your audience. And I think that's so important, especially for VTubers, because if the connection with your audience isn't super deep, you can end up in some situations where maybe you're known for something you don't really want to do and you want to pivot, but you're like, man, if I pivot, and I know that people aren't really here for me, they're here for some trend I did or a game or something. Now you're like, man, in order for me to be authentic to myself, I have to bomb my analytics and lose a huge chunk of my community because people weren't really here for me. I feel like it's so easy for me to say this as a big creator, but small creators, please, be appreciative of where you are right now. Take advantage of it. There's nothing wrong with being small. It is a blessing in disguise. You have time to prepare for when you do blow up, and that is a good thing.
And it's cozy. Enjoy the coziness while you have it is the kind of, at least is what I would recommend. Because, one day would I love to have, people in the hundreds watching me. It's like, yeah, but at the same time, I'm going to miss just talking to my chat a lot. And just having the core, right now my CCB is 25. I love, having my core, 25 people come to hang out. And I can ask them about the day and ask them about specific things that they've shared with me that I feel would be lost if I had hundreds of people watching. And then it goes from that, the different experience. It's going from the kind of intimate, hey, I can talk to my smaller VTuber and I can, show her game tricks and, she'll be more likely to see what I'm saying to oh, okay, now my VTuber Oshi is purely there for entertainment and not for the interaction part of it. So I really like where I am right now. Do I want to grow?
You don't have entertainment in any of that stuff. People are going to get bored of you. They're going to move on to the next person or next Twitch streamer, next TikTok or next Instagram or next YouTuber, next Redditor, next freaking Telegram, or if that's even a thing, or Brighteon or Bishu Odyssey person or Minds person or even another one like X or freaking Meta. That's even a thing.
Yeah, I think I would, but I'm still trying to find out what I want to do. And right now, I'm just enjoying where I'm at.
By the way, you guys are invited to Fawna's very first subathon from September 16th to September 30th. She's going to have a lot of milestones, incentives, giveaways, and so much more, so you don't want to miss it. Well, thank you so much, Fawna, for the interview today. Where can people find you if they want to support you?
People can find me primarily on Twitch, twitch.tv/font_of_Fawna. You can find me at Twitter, twitter.com/font_of_Fawna. Or you can find me on YouTube, which is at @FontOfFawna. My YouTube is still very bare bones. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to make on YouTube. But yeah, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and I'll be sure to add all those links to the description, guys, so check her out, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye!
Alright, so I'm going to get to the quick things real quick, and I'll see you in the headlines. Alright, so this one angered me, pissed me off a lot. So it's Doom Part 2, the sequel for Part 2 of Doom, the one that Ridley Scott was making, 2024, is moving all the way to freaking March of 2024, I think. So this comes from what's it called? Deadline. So it says, what expected to be entertainment walls, however you say that, yeah. And Warner Brothers anticipated Dune Part 2 from Dennis. Oh, it's on March 15th it's going to. Man, I wish I wanted to see it in November, too. I was going to watch it with the Songbird of Hunger Games, the Songbird of Song of Dance, even though granted that chick, Rachel Zegler. I'm only watching because Peter Dinklage and the other chick, Viola Davis, is going to be in there. Here it is. Denis Villeneuve is moving on to November 3rd, the radical trailer release. Sequel is based on Frank Herbert's novel and will play in IMAX on a new date. Don't be surprised Dune Part 2 fires off even to Berlin Festival, SWX late winter, early spring. So that's a shame. Man, I really wanted to watch it this freaking November too, so I gotta wait all the way till March to see it now. Because of the whole silly writer strike crap that's happening. Oh, and then this one happened. This actually happened like 8 days ago. There's a link I'll leave them down below. Netflix and freaking Amazon Prime, they completely blocked off and completely banned the Sound of Freedom movie. And it's a little bit of a strong, not racially charged, but it talks about EX, you know, bad trafficking, and a lot of cartels and the people that do, like, sadly body trafficking crap, which is extremely super sad. But it was good. It made me cry like a baby big time, bro. It was Jim Caviezel that was in it too, so it's a shame they're black and all that. And this one was insane as frick here, bro. This one's it's insane. There's a timeline of Mr. Christian's that comes after years of trolling and documentaries and creators' relationship with their mom. This is really extra bad, bro. This one happened, I know, in June last month, or no, August. This one happened. It's bad, man. This dude, I know he's way older than I am. He's 43 years old. He has really, really extra bad autism and Down syndrome. He screwed up real bad when he did this, bro. So this one says, internet dismay after confirmation that Mr. Christian, now he's called Christine Weston Chandler because he thinks he's a woman. Not even going to get no offense to LGBTQIA, because even the LGBTQIA and people that were trans and non-binary, they didn't even want nothing to do with this guy at all. That's how messed up he ended. And he likes a lot of that anthropomorphic brony stuff. No offense to My Little Pony, because I still like watching the 4th generation My Little Pony Friendship Man. I still like the fluid animation. It's cool, but the 5th one looks like garbage. I'm sorry. And Christian criminal case has been dismissed. They got dismissed and discharged. I heard this from either the podcast from like Mudahar, aka Someordinayrgamers. I think he talked about it, or his other friends like Keemstar and the other dude talked about it. Munch X, I forgot what his name was, but he was like an anime VTuber dude. I know his name, Maximophos. I think it was something like that. Anyways, links to description down below. And I said, peace out, ladies and gentlemen, bros and women, boys and fingers as always. Otakus and Nikikomores. I still really want them to put Dune back, but I guess I wish I watched the Willy Wonka one remake. I will see you guys a day of night wherever you're at in the world out there. Don't just more with the same time. Jumping reckless, taking from Merch Accounts channel, reading video game industry news, and manga news, sources, drama news, internet drama news, and once in a while Elon Musk news, once in a while freaking celebrity gossip news. There's another one, like I said, I'm gonna do that Friday. We're booting off a Valorant contest. Peace out, my sauerkraut. Thanks for seeing the flip side. Don't take any of the crazy, freaky, jabby stuff, or any of the pokes or the SHOTSs, or any of the freaking, it's called nanobites or hydrogel crap. Don't put none of that RNA crap in your body. Just saying. Don't wear any of the freaking mask bullshit either. Later. Deuces and gone. Later. Goodbye.